How often do you go along with things in your job, in your career, in your marriage, in friendships, with the church, in various areas of your life that you absolutely don't agree with, but you're going along because you don't want to live with the consequence of standing in your position that's not okay with you? Successful people learn how to make their mind work for them. I'm David Nagel, and this is the Successful Mind Podcast. I wanted to talk a little bit about the beliefs that kids have, where they come from, and how possibly some of the holiday traditions that we have may affect them in some way. Now, I will say this. I've never seen any studies on this. This is just a hypothesis of mine after studying a lot of people and really thinking about what are the different ideas that we're programmed with as children prior to the age of 7, where we don't have the ability to really rationalize them, think about them, but they go in as a foundational way that we think, so that by the time we can rationalize, we've already had a pretty well-structured amount of information go into our mind for many, many years. And then that is the information that we're pulling from. So just to give you a little background on this, the human mind begins at being programmed basically from in utero as it's developing. The subconscious mind doesn't have the ability to reject anything. So the conscious mind, which does have the ability to reject information and evaluate information, whether or not it wants to accept it or reject it, is not developed till about the age of 7, and it continues its development on into our early 20s. So what's fascinating is that for 7 years, we're receiving information that we don't have the ability to think about, nor do we have the ability to reject. So some of the things that kids are exposed to in some places around the world are very interesting as it would pertain to success in their life, because success is really based on the law of cause and effect. If you understand the correct causes of anything, you can then duplicate those effects throughout your life. Money is one of those things. Most people do not understand money from a cause and effect perspective. Therefore, they struggle with money all of their life. So what's interesting about children is that kids very often have desires for lots of different things, and they don't have any frame of reference as to why they can't have them or what it's going to take their parents to get them or any of that stuff. So we have holidays that kind of support an interesting idea. So that would be Christmas is one of them, Hanukkah is one in a way, Easter is one, Tooth Fairy is one. And here's what's interesting about these holidays or these events. The idea is that there's a payoff for the child. Let's start there. So with the Easter Bunny and with Santa Claus, with that idea, if the child is good, they're going to get a reward, especially with Santa Claus. And if the child is not good, supposedly they won't get a reward. The idea with all three of them, the Easter Bunny, Santa Claus, and a Tooth Fairy, all of these three beings, so to speak, come in the middle of the night after the kid's asleep. So, and there's a lot of different things about this that add up in kind of a creepy way, but I'm going to bring both sides of the story in so you can evaluate this for yourself. And I'm not on any kind of a rant about that we need to do away with these things or anything. It's just something to notice and to mark down in your own way of thinking is interesting. It's interesting. It's something to think about. It's also something to think about if you're raising children and how you want to present these ideas to them. Because there are positive aspects to it also, like hope and peace and love and all the different things that the religious aspect of those of Christmas and Easter also. So there, there's good messages along with it. But my concern is this, that the formation of the story, basically, let's just take Christmas. You have Santa Claus. Santa Claus can see everything that you're doing all year long. So that's a very interesting thing to be telling a child. Every single thing that they're doing, Santa Claus can see. He's keeping a list as to whether you're naughty or nice, supposedly. And he comes in the middle of the night. We don't know what he's going to do. He's a very unhealthy, overweight man that comes down a chimney. Although when they created Santa Claus as being overweight was considered jolly, I guess, at the time. It was kind of a fashion thing. It meant wealth at one period of time in history. And he comes at night, and he either brings you toys or he brings you coal, or you get something or you get nothing, that type of thing. But here's the part, like all of that alone is creepy enough, but here's the idea. The idea is that you're magically rewarded for being good, and you're magically punished for not being good. So there is a little semblance of cause and effect in there, but it is still the decision of someone else as to whether you get rewarded or not. So it's not a direct connection of cause and effect like here, if you do these specific things, you automatically get these other things in return. It has to come through the approval of this authority figure as Santa Claus. The Easter Bunny has a lot of religious connotations around it. The Easter Bunny comes at night, brings a basket, hides eggs. If you're thinking about it from an adult perspective, again, this is a creepy thing. Stranger in your house, middle of the night, hiding eggs, hiding a basket. Kids are asleep. Nobody knows he's there. So it's an interesting twist on a message that we're giving a child. The Tooth Fairy is even a little more interesting because with the Tooth Fairy, the idea is that we have to give up something of ourselves to get money. So we get rewarded for our teeth falling out, which is fascinating. So I remember when I was a kid, and I've literally asked thousands of people the same thing, and they've all told me the same thing, that when their teeth would get loose when they were a kid, they couldn't wait to get them out so that they could get their quarter or nickel or dollar or whatever it was that supposedly the Easter Bunny was going to give them. And here's the thing with the Easter Bunny. The Easter Bunny leaves it under your pillow while you're sleeping, right? So again, creepy AF if you ask me. But now you have these three stories that you're planning in a child's mind, and they all have this connotation of cause and effect, but from a magical and authoritative perspective. What is the danger around that? So I think that the danger that we have is based on the idea of how excited kids get around these three things. Getting money for losing their teeth, Easter, the Easter egg hunt, the getting of the basket, and definitely around Christmas. So why is that dangerous? Well, here's the reason why. If you understand how the subconscious mind is programmed, you understand this. It's programmed through constant spaced repetition. So when it hears or experiences things over a consistent period of time, and there's the repetition of that. So that's one. The other way is through a sudden emotional impact. That's when a person is in a heightened emotional state around anything that is happening, and that could be a heightened emotional state good or a heightened emotional state bad. Okay, so it doesn't necessarily have to be good or bad, but it could be either one. When that is going on, the information that is being provided in that moment is going right in without any resistance whatsoever. So now you have all of these things combined, the ability not to really resist it, constant spaced repetition of the stories, and you also have the emotional impact that the child is actually going through around these things. Parents are using this as leverage for children to be good. Again, I understand some people are listening to us going, my parents didn't do that. I get it. I get that some parents did not do this. Some people were not raised this way. I'm just raising this as an interesting topic of consideration for several different reasons. So parents use it as leverage to get their kids to be good. And then it is reinforced on a I would say more of a micro level through the process of as a child is really kind of growing up in their life. So what does that mean? Well, what that means is that we're taught to be nice. We're taught to be good. We're taught to adapt to authority as we go through school. All of these things are really leading a person to become an adult, and then when they become an adult, they're completely programmed to work for somebody else. They're programmed to work a job. And the original idea of schooling when it was created in the city of Chicago, and I forget what year it was that the education system was created, was that it really prepared for people for industrial work for the rest of their life. And it was the way that we actually go about going to school prepares them for that also. So what I'm talking about is the time we start, the time we go to lunch, how we go to lunch. We get little breaks throughout the day. We have a couple of weeks off. All of that kind of prepares somebody for what it's like to work, for another person in their life. Now, you might think to yourself, well, is that such a bad thing? Well, no, not. I'm not necessarily saying that it's a bad thing. The dangerous part about it is that we're so inundated with the idea that by default, it kind of begins to remove our ability to choose. So if a person is really, there's something stirring inside of that person that they want to do something else, when they're searching inside of themselves for the answer to what that is, like a different way of living my life, they don't have the information on the inside because the only information they can pull from is the way that they were raised. And if they're in the same environment that they were raised in, they're not going to get the information on the outside in their immediate environment anyway. The other thing that it does is that it sets this value proposition within an individual to be nice. And here's something that everybody needs to learn, because it really changes a lot in a person's life when they understand that nice is not a value. Being kind is. Nice is not. And let me tell you why. Because nice is something that can be very, very deceptive. It's used by people that have terrible motives for other individuals. Like, it's used by con men, it's used by serial killers, it's used by people that want to take advantage of you in various different ways. And the reason it's used is because we're taught from children, number one, to be nice, and number two, that it's okay to be around nice people. So the plot thickens here. Let's think about this for a moment. On one hand, these three strangers, the Easter Bunny, Santa Claus, and the Tooth Fairy, are allowed to come into our house in the middle of the night. On the other hand, we're taught to stay away from and not talk to strangers. But these three strangers not only are okay, but we're not allowed to see them. If we see them, if we don't go to sleep, they won't leave their gifts, so to speak. So we're not allowed to see them. The Easter Bunny is actually allowed to come into our bedroom, which is kind of creepy, because it's a stranger in the bedroom with money, okay? Like, the weird correlations that you can create in your mind with this are very, very odd when we think about it. Now, let's think about this. We're taught to stay away from strangers as a child. So when is it that we are taught that it's okay to engage with strangers? Because every person on the planet at some point in time has to learn to engage with people that are strangers. Otherwise, they couldn't get through life. When and how are we taught that? Some people, yes, are taught from a value perspective. Their parents will teach them how to evaluate another person, whether that person is okay to be in their life or not, and they have a very sound way of evaluating people in their life, and they generally don't get taken advantage of. They don't have bad people in their life because they know how to evaluate it, and they've done it over and over again with their parents' guidance. Most people that I talk to, they will all tell you that the bridge, the gap, came when their parents started saying, okay, you can be around this stranger because we know them, they're nice. but not from a value perspective, only from the idea of being nice. So what happens is that even though we get alternate information about what kind of people might be dangerous in the world, subconsciously when we're a little kid, we were told that nice strangers are okay. We're told that nice strangers are okay. We tell kids don't accept gifts, like don't accept candy from a stranger, right? It's the old sick joke that every adult knows. Yet it's okay to do it from the Easter Bunny, it's okay to do it from Santa Claus, and it's okay to do it from the Tooth Fairy. Two strangers that we'll never meet, we can never evaluate. We have to take it on authority that these things are actually okay. And yes, at some point, every child figures out that it's complete bullshit. So you might be thinking to yourself, well, if I figured out that it was complete bullshit, why is this so important to understand this? Here's the reason. Because you still linked up cause and effect in your mind in a very interesting way that doesn't actually work. We don't move ahead in the world because we're nice. Does kind play a role in it? Yeah, it does, because we have to learn how to get along with people as we go through life. But from a cause and effect perspective, are we going to make more money because we're nice? No. Are we going to get better positions in life because we're nice? Well, now this brings up another interesting topic. It depends on how nice you want to be. Right now, in today's society, we have that in the Me Too movement, where that's been taken like way overboard. Like, it's very obvious that people have taken advantage of the idea of, if you be nice to me, I'll make sure your career is advanced. Well, why is it that somebody would allow that idea to come in their mind to go along with that kind of an idea? And I want you to really consider this for a moment, right? If your value system was such where you would not trade things that were inappropriate in any form in order to move ahead, then that would be your value system. And if somebody offered you a better position, more pay or whatever for sexual favors or any kind of inappropriate favors, your answer would be no. But if somewhere in your mind you've made this okay, and you've made it okay because you have conflicting information in your life, then all of a sudden you may be one of the people that participates in some kind of action like this. It cannot be completely blamed on the perpetrator. The victims in most of these cases went along voluntarily. Now, you can make all kinds of arguments for the leverage that these people had over them and everything, and I get that, and I understand it, and I agree with it to a point. Outside of cases of all-out rape, you've got people that are participating willingly, even if they're not internally agreeing with it, they're going along with it for some reason. Well, that's an extreme case, okay? Now, let's think about things in life that aren't as extreme. How often do you go along with things in your job, in your career, in your marriage, in friendships, with the church, in various areas of your life that you absolutely don't agree with, but you're going along because you don't want to live with the consequence of standing in your position that's not okay with you? And it doesn't matter what it is. Because if we start to focus on what the thing is, then the thing that we're objecting to or the thing that's being done to us becomes the problem. I'm interested in what is the mindset behind it, right? And, the idea is that if you look at a predator looks for weaknesses in people. Predators don't prey on strong people. They prey on people where they think that they can get away with whatever it is that they're going to do. So they're noticing something in individuals. If you're a person who's been preyed upon, it would serve you well to ask the question, what is it that I'm giving off that would cause a person to want to prey on me? Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people say, oh, I'm blaming the victim, And I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it all. What I am doing is saying that when you participate, when you voluntarily participate in any kind of this trade-off, whether it's sex or a small trade-off, doing a job you just absolutely don't want to do, you don't agree with, but you're doing to save your job, what is it inside of yourself that is making that okay to do this? And I think that all of this gets traced back to very confusing messages that we get when we're children, where we don't really get a real solid value system and an ethic of way of being for whatever reason. And no, Santa Claus is not the cause of this either. It's just a very interesting illustration that shows you how we can take something with very good intentions and we could get the ideas into somebody's mind that maybe don't serve them as adults. But because they're programmed when we're little kids, and it's fun for everybody when we're a little kid, when we're an adult and our subconscious mind is taking over, we would rather be nice than stand in our power. We would rather allow something to happen so we could get something good that we want in life versus stand in our power. It's really something to think about and to consider, especially if anybody who's listening to this is having issues in their life where people are taking advantage of them in some way. What is it's in your subconscious mind that is not causing you to stand in a position of strength and stop them from taking advantage of you? Somewhere you justify that it's okay. Somewhere you think to yourself, I have to do this in order to get something that I want. And my proposition is you don't. Now, on the other side of this, the idea of actually getting what you want is created by cause and effect. And if a person is willing to take the time and learn what the cause and effect of success is in all different ways, whether it's happiness, whether it's money, whether it's a career, whether it's a business, whether they're an artist, it doesn't matter what it is, everything that you could possibly want to experience in life from a great perspective, from the perspective of what is your purpose, what is your destiny in life, it has an absolute cause. And if a person understands that cause, they can fulfill that in their life and they can live that in their life. So we just thought that this would be an interesting little perspective to bring around Christmas time and maybe start some conversations with people that you know. See what you think about it. Give us some feedback on it. Again, I encourage you to understand, I'm not blaming anybody for anything here. I am bringing up some scenarios where the idea is that we think. We really start to think, what is it that we're telling our children that could be causing problems later on in life? Have a great holiday. Thanks for listening to the Successful Mind podcast. And if you like what you heard and you want to know more, go to davidnagel.com/free stuff.